Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Create Your Best Chapter with Confidence. This is a podcast where I talk with really amazing women who share their wisdom, share their guidance, provide us with advice, and just have real conversations about real things that are happening in our lives. And today I'm so excited to be talking about perimenopause with my good friend, Dr. Jennifer Bunsenmeyer. Jennifer is a naturopathic doctor. She works with women who find themselves exhausted, experiencing more PMS and weight gain as they get older, especially in their 30s and 40s, and even in their 50s, Jen. They are experiencing the hormonal shifts that come with perimenopause. So this could mean irregular cycles, disturbing hot flashes, troublesome sleeplessness, relentless weight gain no matter what you do, heavy bleeding, fibroids, and mood changes. And sometimes we don't even recognize ourselves when these symptoms happen to us. So Dr. Jennifer has developed this Bunsenmeyer method of care where she has perfected these 4 pillars of care that are her secret sauce to hormonal success. And by sharing her 4 secrets with clients, she has helped women shift their energy, their weight, their mood, and hormones all naturally, which I love because if you've known me for a hot second, you know that I'm all about how can we help ourselves naturally. And so, Jennifer, I'm so excited to have you on this podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Vera, for having me on. I'm so excited to spread the word, educate women. This is such a great platform. I love it.
Yes, thank you. And I was sharing with you before we hit the record button that almost every single woman I've met lately or talked to, my friends, colleagues, and just other people that I've met, are all thinking, am I crazy? Like I'm having these weird symptoms. Can you explain? I know I mentioned a few of the symptoms, but can you just go into what are some of the symptoms that show up as we get into perimenopause? And please tell us that we're not crazy.
You are not crazy. So this is part of my passion of educating women on how to support their system. It's first awareness that this potentially could be hormones. So, and also awareness that perimenopause, the perimenopause transition period into menopause, is a 4 to 8 year process. Some literature even says 10 years. So the average age of menopause is 50. So if you back that up, you could absolutely be having symptoms at 42. But if your last period ends at 48 or 47, you could be having symptoms at 38, 39, 40. So that's where those symptoms of the more common ones that we experience at first is hot flashing, insomnia, night sweats, which is affecting the sleep. Heavier bleeding starts to happen. PMS is a big one that starts to happen. So we might have had PMS in our 30s, but it becomes super pronounced where we're more moody, we're more irritated. Irritability is a big one. That impatience, just having impatience with our kids or with our spouse or at work, that's a huge one. Breast tenderness, weight gain, water retention, like gaining 2 to 4 to 5 pounds the week before your period, all of those symptoms could be perimenopause. So that's where we need to do our due diligence of assessing and looking and going, okay, what is happening? And I explained what I did to my hairdresser once, and my hairdresser said, "You're like a private investigator of the body." And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Our body is giving us red flags, symptoms, and it's our job to listen. So we're not crazy. There is a shift that is happening. Oh, another big one is we go into a room and all of a sudden we can't remember what we were going to do in that room.
Perimenopause brain fog is real. I can guarantee it.
Real. Concentration off, low memory. So we're often at this place of, I'm 42. How could I be possibly having these symptoms? Like it can't possibly be menopause. It's got to be something else. And that's where that education piece is so important. And I think there is more awareness that's coming out about perimenopause, that we are becoming more aware, but I'm on a mission.
Well, and I love that you're on this mission, because I really wish that I would have known 10 years ago that I might have been experiencing perimenopausal symptoms. Right at age 40, I was just thinking, I just want to be healthy. I want to do my thing. Menopause
Yes.
is years away. And it's almost like this mindset, like menopause means that you're old. I'm not old. And then
Right.
all of a sudden 10 years go by and I'm 50 and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, wow.
We still don't feel old.
No,
I'm
we
49.
don't.
I don't feel old, right? So
Right.
what's the definition of old? At 35, we might feel 50 is old. But once we
Right.
get here, I can tell you, most of us don't feel that.
No, but our bodies are definitely going through this transition period. And I love that you're calling it a transition period, right? Because I think, again, for me anyways, like it was always this like, well, you're done, you're old, right? You're like moving into like being worthless. And obviously I don't believe that. And I even, I coach a lot of women who are in their 40s and 50s, and like we have so much left to give. We have so much to give, so much wisdom, so many years left, right, to really make an impact.
Yes.
So, but again, how can we start to support ourselves then, so that we're not, we know that we're not going crazy, but that irritability thing, it's so terrible, right? Like I know logically I'm being irritable and irrational, and yet at the same time, words are coming out of my mouth that I'm like, how is this happening? Something's taking over my body.
Yes, totally. So yes. So first thing that we...
Oh, I just lost your sound. Hang on. There we go. Nope. There you go.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. There's a button on the top of my microphone, apparently.
It's all good. So first thing, what do we need to do first thing?
So first thing is looking at my first pillar of care is looking at stress, sleep, and nutrition. So if we're stressed, if we're not sleeping, that's totally going to affect our nutrition and our movement and our exercise. Like studies show that exercise and eating healthy can make a big impact in our hormonal health and also prevention of disease in later on in menopause and through our 40s as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we need that stress, sleep, nutrition to be there. But we often don't have energy. We are not sleeping, so we don't have that energy that wherewithal to prep the meals. We all know we should eat healthy and exercise, but if we don't have the energy and we're not sleeping, we're going to be craving more. That can totally affect our nutrition. We're not going to have that energy to prep the meals, to go grocery shopping, to have the wherewithal to actually make the meals. Mm-hmm. So that's where my step one is, can we look, because most women that are coming to me, late 30s, 40s, are super exhausted. They've just built families, built careers, potentially, that they're at a place where they're tired. And now all of a sudden the hormones are shifting. And then they're not sleeping, they're hot flashing. That's waking them up in the middle of the night. Part of that could be cortisol related as well. So there's a whole host of things that are happening in this time period. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I would say that then from a hormonal perspective, are generally speaking, often are, if this is progesterone and this is estrogen, our progesterone starts to decrease first. So estrogen can be potentially higher at certain times of our cycle. I don't like the word estrogen dominance because it just makes us think that we're always in that place, and we might not be. Our hormones cycle through our period cycle, our whole monthly cycle. But we can tend to be, if we're lowering progesterone is anxiolytic, so it calms us down. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden stress is impacting us more, but it's not flying off our back as much. Plus, if we've just had 10, 12 years of higher stress in the sense of 20s, there might have been stress there, but 30s, we're building careers, learning how to be parents, learning how to be in our career and be productive and all of that, that stress has been there for a while, that we can be in this high cortisol place. So the combination of high cortisol and lower progesterone makes us not sleep as well. And then our energy goes down. So that's a big piece of that perimenopause place where then, that's why we're wanting to work on the energy and the sleep and the stress, because if we don't tackle those, it's going to be really hard to focus on hormones and help you feel good and do the preventative work for menopause.
Right. So what I'm hearing, it's how do we reduce the stress, right? Like reducing the stress so that you can then sleep better, so you can make better decisions around your nutrition and have the energy to exercise. So you're getting out of that kind of negative cycle of sleepless nights and low energy, eating bad foods that, again, just keep that negative cycle going.
Yes.
Breaking that pattern so that then you can start making better decisions to do things that are going to support you, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's where, so we've got the lifestyle things that we can work on. So that's where your work comes in as a coach, working on that stress management piece and like visioning and lifestyle things of like going to bed earlier and like having a routine with bed, having sleep hygiene there, like so many things. I could keep going from that lifestyle perspective. I do a lot of coaching around that. Then there's the naturopathic therapies that I can use for modulating cortisol. So there's different herbs and nutrients that I can give to help modulate cortisol so that women are not waking up through the night. Or things, if they're having that second wind before bed and it's hard to fall asleep, there's things that we can do as well. So then I get them sleeping better, and then their energy is better. Then they're more apt to do the diet and the exercise and waking up at 5:30 or whatever instead of pressing snooze.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. I hear that a lot from women, right? Like, how do I create these healthy habits for myself that are going to support the sleep, are going to support the healthier eating, the exercise? And I think a lot of it, and let me know what you think and what you hear from your patients, but a lot of it is that women put others first, right? We put ourselves last. So we're looking after our kids, we're looking after our spouses, we're looking after our friends, we're giving, right? We're working. We have to look after our team and we have to look after the deadlines. And then it's like, we don't put ourselves at the forefront of that. So I always say, like, you need to put yourself first. Like, it's not selfish, because if you can support yourself and get your energy up and create rituals for yourself that feed your soul, that nourish your body, that make you feel more calm, imagine all the things that you can do so much better for the people that you love in your life.
Yes, 100%. I always say, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on anyone else. You'll be more present with your kids and your spouse and at work if you're doing some good self-care. So there's more of a movement of self-care. We're trying to let go of the guilt around that and know that it's okay, right? It's you should be able to have some time to yourself. There should be some space to nourish you as well. And this also becomes very important in a lot of women they're missing the mark on something shifted in their health. And like, why are we not taking care of ourselves, or what's happening? They miss the mark. They're not paying attention to their symptoms. And all of a sudden we're down the rabbit hole. And so it's, how can we pull that back where we're paying attention? We're going, okay, there's like, as a naturopathic doctor, I'm always like, the sooner we catch something, the sooner we can nip it in the bud. So that's where that, like, going for our regular blood work, going for our mammogram, going for all those like screening things. So we're not in this place of all of a sudden there's something wrong. So that can be a really important thing as well.
And sorry to interrupt, but I think that that's also part of the lifestyle change, is making some time to listen to yourself and become aware of what's happening. Because I know even in my experience, sometimes I'm like, I just ignore it. I don't have time right now to deal with this symptom, with this, sleeplessness, I have to just keep pushing through. I've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so you're right.
Coffee.
I'm going to just have more coffee, right? Like I'm going to
keep pushing through. Well, that's going to elevate your cortisol all through your day. And then that affects your cortisol at night, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice of instead pulling back, practicing the anxiety that comes with pulling back and being in the moment and reading your book and having some tea. For that, like 10 minutes just to keep going in your afternoon, right? Like practicing the mindfulness around, okay, now I'm anxious. Now I feel guilty. Okay, how can I let this go? What do I need to do for that?
That's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so powerful. And giving yourself permission to do that, right? That knowing that this is what is actually going to support me. It's 5 minutes. It's 10 minutes, right? It's not your whole day. You don't have to overhaul your whole entire schedule. It's just taking the time to breathe, to read, have a cup of tea, right? Not just push through, because that's ultimately, you're right, not going to get us to where we want to be. So how do you think women can give themselves this permission? Because like I said before, I think a lot of times we're like, I don't have time. I need to look after my kids. Like, it's almost like a worthiness issue. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely a worthiness issue. And it's, yes, I would say so first thought was practice, like awareness that, whoa, I might need to start taking a break here. Right. Like, and you might need to work with a practitioner who can kind of like zone in on the fact that you're waking in the middle of the night because your cortisol is elevated. So you really need to practice a different way of life. But it is the worthiness. It's that there's core wounds that we have. This is getting out of my realm and more into psychology, but I have heard there's core wounds that I am not worthy to take care of myself. I have to take care of everyone else. People pleasing, all of that. It's a whole podcast in itself, really, Vera. Hey?
Yeah. Well, it is. And I mean, that speaks directly to the work that I do with clients, right? It's like unblocking those things, right? Like looking at some of our core wounds, looking at the inner child, right? Like how can we start to give ourselves permission? And my big message lately has been that the key to making a change in your life is to invest in yourself. And investments, it's investment of money. Yes, we need to pay someone to help us, right? Pay you, right? Pay me, pay somebody else. But it's also an investment of time and energy, right? So it's allowing yourselves to create time for ourselves. So that's 5 minutes, that 10 minutes, allowing yourselves to, had another podcast guest, Mallory, on a little while ago, and she said, I put in regular appointments into my calendar for chiropractic, for naturopath, like for all of massage, right? It's in my calendar. It's like the first thing that goes in there. It's this self-care piece, because I know that that's going to help me be a better mom, a better business owner. So again, it's an investment of time, money, energy.
Exactly. Yes. And putting yourself first. You have an appointment with yourself. You're going to the chiro. Sorry, I can't do this and this. I have an appointment.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great work. And yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about, let's get into more sort of the like what happens during perimenopause. Like what's the process that actually occurs? Yes. And I know you mentioned the period of transition, but just give us a little bit overview of like what actually happens.
Yeah. So what is actually happening is our ovaries are not producing as good quality of hormones. So they're like, in the sense, they're not able to develop the follicle as well. And it's the developing of that follicle. And then that follicle takes over producing the progesterone after ovulation. And so if that follicle can't fully develop and the quality of that whole process isn't there, then our hormones start shifting. So there's this whole transition period over time that starts happening. And then that's when we start seeing lower progesterone, higher estrogen. So lowering progesterone is symptoms of we might start feeling more anxious, uh, harder to deal with stress, insomnia. Even a big one is headaches. So, and that's what I experienced when I was 42. I started getting headaches, and it's from that shift in progesterone and estrogen as we're cycling through the different times of our cycle period versus ovulation and menses again. So, and then when we're higher estrogen is going to cause more of that PMS, breast tenderness. Low progesterone is that irritability piece, but higher estrogen is like heavier periods, breast tenderness, more clotting of our cycle. More weight gain is a big one, and a higher estrogen will put us in this like feeling just a water retention all over our body, a lot of bloating in our abdomen, and it's harder to lose weight, easier to gain weight.
Yeah.
And then we start flipping later on. So that would be like early perimenopause times. That could continue for 6 or 7, 8 years. And then we can start sometimes just before our last period, we can start going into low estrogen where we're getting more low memory, low concentration, low libido, and a big one, I just want to highlight this for bones. We start losing muscle 4 years around our last period. So if we don't have the muscle there, then we're not going to have the muscle to build the bone, because the muscle contracting is what pulls the bone, stimulates bone building. So that's really important to set us up from a prevention of those diseases that are happening in menopause. So that's a really important piece. So then once we start going into our like last period, and then menopause hits, definition of menopause is no period for 12 months. We start going low estrogen, and that low estrogen puts us at risk. And this is part of why I like working with women in their 40s to work on lifestyle then, because we're at more risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, osteoporosis, so bone loss, and then hip fractures more susceptible to, and diabetes and insulin resistance. So that's the connection of lowering estrogen increases our cholesterol, increases our LDL, increases our insulin resistance. And it's easier to gain weight at that point. So you can see, so part of my mission is to educate women when they're early 40s, late 30s even, in bone building then by exercising regularly, in eating healthy so that all through our 40s, our blood sugar is nice and balanced from our diet, so that it's a lot harder. You can imagine if we're losing bone at 42 and we land at last period and menopause with less bone density, then it's just going to be we're going to lose more bone density. So if we can do exercise and eat healthy and balance our sugars through all of our 40s, we're setting ourselves up for a like way better transition into menopause and preventing all those diseases.
Yeah. And is it strength training? That's my understanding, that building muscle is the way to go in order to, if we're going to exercise, like that's the exercise to do as much as we can.
So from a bone building perspective, we need strength training. We need that resistance against the bone to actually build the bone. So we need that exercise. Canadian guidelines say we should be getting 150 minutes of exercise per week, where our heart rate is at a target heart rate. So to help, obviously, listeners, you want to check with your doctor to make sure that's okay. but we're wanting that movement. I would say the best kind of exercise is the exercise you're going to stick to, the exercise that you love, for one thing. And if you're not exercising, start small, baby steps, right? Like baby steps, and just build from there. But from a bone health perspective, we want that resistance training. We also do want cardio, because that cardio is going to increase circulation. And so when we have more blood flow, so that heart rate being elevated is going to increase our circulation. Then our brain, think about how our brain is just bathed in our beautiful blood with all that oxygen, all those nutrients. That's really good for our cognition. And if we're beating our heart more, we're increasing our circulation and strengthening our heart. So that helps from a cardiovascular perspective as well, and preventing dementia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's evidence-based medicine studies show that if we do that 150 minutes of exercise, we actually decrease our risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, osteoporosis, diabetes, insulin resistance, all those diseases we're more at risk once we are in menopause.
Right.
It's important to be doing it in our 40s, but we need energy and sleep. So we can be healthy. So we want to exercise. And I don't like the word exercise, I like the word movement.
Okay.
Exercise feels like a chore. Movement feels like, oh, what do I want? How do I want to move today?
But I also think that this knowledge, like as you're sharing this, I'm feeling more empowered. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a headache today. I'm feeling irritable today. I'm not crazy. This is what's happening. Like, this is like a physiological process that's happening in my body. It's totally natural. This is part of the transition. And I take back some of my power, right? I'm not letting it.
Oh, I like it.
Sure, I feel shitty, right? And I don't like it. I don't like feeling like I don't like having a headache. It disrupts my day or disrupts my mood. But I'm also not letting it take the power, right? Like, I'm taking my power back.
Like taking your power back. Exactly.
Right.
And how can I support myself in this place?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So maybe not go for a run, maybe just a gentle walk.
Right.
So maybe do some journaling, eat some really good, lots of veggies, and drink lots of water for that headache, those kinds of things. It's about exactly that. How can we empower ourselves? So we can be the better person in our life, so that we can show up for those around us, for ourselves first, and those around us.
Right. And a piece of this too, for me, is acceptance, because I dislike very much this weight gain around my belly. And again, anything I've done has not worked, right? And the more I focus on it, the more angry I get about it, which obviously isn't where I want to be, and it's not purposeful.
And then we spiral.
Right? So for me, it's been a journey of accepting that my body's changing.
Yes.
But I'm still healthy. I'm strong. I can do something about it. And it's just this, again, like you said, practicing acceptance, practicing self-love, practicing this grace. And so I'm just sharing that because I want people to know, and women to know, that, how can you accept your body? How can you accept that you're going through this change? And it's okay. Like, you're beautiful, and you're resilient, and you're strong, and you're wise, and we need you, right? So look after yourself.
And you are in your power, and this is the next transition of your life where you're creating your next chapter. And when we really embrace that about ourselves, and embrace, yes, I am aging. Of course I'm aging. We're all aging. And we want to nourish our bodies. If we have an aging car, we're nourishing that aging car. We need to nourish our bodies the same. And embrace, we are shifting, but we also want to see what tools are in our toolkit to help support our aging body.
Yeah,
that's what you and I deliver. That's what you and I are so passionate about doing, in the sense of, I'm speaking for you, Vera. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely.
But we want to build tools in our toolkit. Every woman should have a toolkit.
Absolutely. Tell women how you help them and how they can get in touch with you to get your help.
Great question. Thank you. So I have developed, you alluded to it, the Bunsemeyer method of care, and it's 4 pillars. And so when I see women one-on-one, I ensure that I'm working through these 4 pillars of care through over time, through different visits, to help support the hormones that are shifting and changing, and an aging body. So my first pillar of care, how I mentioned, is stress, sleep, and nutrition. Second pillar of care, which we need a whole podcast on, is gut health. So our gut health is super important from an inflammation perspective, in a perspective of how we digest our food and get the nutrients we need for our aging body, and to process our hormones. So specifically our liver is processing that estrogen. So I do a lot of work on gut health if there's concerns or symptoms around gut health. Pillar 3 is that hormone pillar of more hormonal specific things I need to do. So if PMS is there, what nutrients and supplements and lifestyle things do we need to work on? If there's more heavy bleeding, I want to try to mitigate that. If it's more PCOS related and they're moving into their 40s, where do we need to go from an insulin resistance perspective? So just examples. And then pillar 4 is looking at how to age as gracefully as possible. And that's setting us up to make sure we're getting enough calcium in our diet, that we're doing that strength training, that we're mitochondria support, which is a big, long word for just really important aging process that supporting with nutrients can make a difference. So those are my 4 pillars of care. I work with women in my clinical practice, and I onboard them over 2 to 3 visits where we're incorporating some of those. We don't have to go in order. It's just what we individually think is going to be best for their body. So that process is a book per visit, and they can book online through my website, drjenbnd.com. And that's double N. So there's a booking link. They book a premium strategy session. I love to monitor their blood work. I love just to monitor my clients' blood work yearly so I can see the metrics from year to year. Is their triglycerides going up? What's happening with their thyroid all through their 40s? Like I'm trying to set women up in that menopausal phase where we're more at risk for cardiovascular, dementia risk, bone health, insulin resistance. I want to be watching and screening all through a woman's 40s to help build their health so they can transition smoothly into that place. And then afterwards, I work with menopausal women as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. I'm going to put the link to your website in the show notes.
Awesome.
And also your Instagram handle.
Oh, yes.
Is what? What is it?
Thank you, Vera. It's Perimenopause Naturopath.
Yeah.
So can't get more simpler than that.
And follow Dr. Jennifer, because her Instagram content is really awesome. She does lots of great videos, lots of really good tips and advice. And so definitely go and follow her. Definitely connect with her. Definitely go see her. And I love that you're individualizing this for each woman. So we can talk about in generalities, like that's what we're doing today, but really it has to be specific to each woman. Like, and I think that's the key, is that there's so many different variables. There's so many different situations that are going on in women's lives. Like we need that. Yes, we need the community. We need to have people around us that we can talk with and, get advice from, but we also need that individualized care, right?
Absolutely. Every woman has a different health that we need to look at things differently. So yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is amazing.
Right.
I've learned so much from today, and we will definitely do another part where we talk about something else as well. But today, really, the message is that you're not crazy. This is a natural process. There are so many things that you can do. And please, please, please ask for help, because there's lots of tools, like you said, that you can add to your toolbox to support yourself. And you're worth it. We need you, right? We need everyone to feel energized so that we can change this world, right?
Exactly. Yes. And create the life that the second half of our life that we want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for all that you do. And we will do another part so that we can, educate and inspire and motivate more and more women and get your mission out, get my mission out. So thank you so much, Dr. Jen. Really, really, really appreciate this.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate educating and empowering women. And thank you for what you do as well. That stress management piece and all the creation that you're building with your clients, that's huge. It's like, I can see the passion in you, and it's so great that you're working with women to empower them as well. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, and we'll chat soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.